Hey guys, it's Erica here with Climate Ready Home, and today we're going to be talking about how to firescape using containers. Now, firescape is a way of landscaping that reduces your home's vulnerability to wildfires. And usually it is about like landscaping, like actual traditional landscaping, not necessarily containers, but I do want to use some of the firescaping, I guess, philosophies when it comes to landscaping with actual containers. Now, most of my home is surrounded by concrete. The backyard, half of the yard is concrete. And so I want to be able to utilize that space to grow some plants. Now, my husband built me a large raised bed so that I could grow some plants up against the house. And what I'm doing today is I'm going to walk you guys through some of the things that I've done with that container so that it follows those firescaping principles. Now, this is a part 2 video. The first video I covered how to prepare a raised bed for being on concrete, and then this video is where I'm going to be covering the actual firescaping of this container, and I will be posting links down below about general firescaping, just some sites that are really reputable, and that way you can look into firescaping yourself, so you can read up on that. And I will be doing a video covering firescaping in general as well. I think it's really important, especially for those of us who live in a high fire risk area. So let's get started. So here is the container. It is made out of untreated wood. I don't know what kind of wood, but it's not treated. And I have wheels on every corner that also lock. Now the reason why I have it on wheels is because I want to be able to move it. And there are 3 reasons why I want to be able to move this relating to wildfires. And the very first one has to do with the actual plants themselves. Plants can act as a ladder of fuel that can catch your roof on fire. There's 2 different ways this can happen. You can have plants that are just super tall, like a tree maybe, and the tree can, reach the roof line and catch that on fire if it's on fire. And the second thing are plants that just create a big flame. If they create a flame tall enough, it can definitely catch the roof line on fire for sure. And then the next reason has to do with dead plant material and where it accumulates. So before I get into that specifically, I want to talk a little bit about how your house catches on fire. So we typically think when we think of wildfires catching a house on fire is like there's a huge flame going through a neighborhood and it catches everyone's house on fire. And that typically isn't what happens. Usually there are a lot of flying embers that are created with wildfires, and those flying embers can travel a great distance. And this is typically what catches houses on fire. So these embers can accumulate in certain areas in your home, and in those areas it's also where leaves accumulate as well. So we have flying embers that are going to catch the leaves on fire, which then can catch your furniture on fire, and it kind of just snowballs from there, and then before you know it, your whole patio is on fire and then your house is on fire. So I wanted to be able to move this out of the way so that I can periodically go through this area and clean it out of any type of dead material. This is an area where everything accumulates, this area, and the other side of this weird like stick out thing that we have here. I don't know what is going on with this wall. I hate it so much, but the other side of this also catches a lot of leaves. So these are 2 areas that I want to make sure is completely cleared out so that if we do have a wildfire coming through and we do have a lot of flying embers, it won't catch this corner on fire. So I want to be able to move this out of the way so I can clean it, but also if we are evacuated, I want to be able to move this whole planter far away from the house. Now I have a specific area where I want to put it. It's about 8 feet away from the house, and it's not under the pergola. So you can't see here, but I have a whole pergola covering my patio. And the place where I'm going to be putting this if we have a evacuation is away from the pergola and away from the home. All right, so I don't want the leaves to catch on fire if they accumulate here, but even if this is clear, and let's say I didn't have a chance to move this big old thing out of the way before evacuation, what can typically happen is embers will be flying around and they'll still accumulate here, but there won't be the leaves for it to catch on fire, right? But we do have this big planter that is made out of untreated wood, so it's a possibility that the embers will gather underneath this raised bed and catch the whole raised bed on fire. So that's the the third reason why I want to move this way far away, is because there still will be embers that'll accumulate here. So I want there to be nothing there as a fuel source for those embers to start a flame. Okay, so I was successful in cleaning that area underneath. I do want to point out, I am being very careful with this planter box as I move it, and it looks like it's a little too heavy for me, and honestly it is kind of heavy, but I can definitely manhandle it and move it if I need to. I was just trying to be very careful, and the reason is I didn't make sure that the wheels could handle the weight of the whole planter box. we kind of just purchased wheels and didn't really think about it. And so I was really nervous that I was going to snap the wheels off the bottom of this. So I was trying to be very careful and not like jerk everything around too much. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at wheels, that it can handle the weight of the planter box, and then also the weight of the plants, and then also the weight of the water if there's water in the soil. And I also want to point out about actual evacuations. If we don't have time to move this, I am just going to leave it. I'm not going to risk my life to move this planter box. So just throwing that out there. This is only getting moved if I have time. The next thing I want to talk about is irrigation. Everything I have in the yard and even just in like the landscaping is set up with the system in mind. I'm going to be putting this on a drip system. I have a large poly tubing around the entire perimeter of my home. And so all I do is make a hole punch in there, stick a coupler in the large tubing, and then stick a smaller tube in that. I'm sure there's like actual names for this, but yeah, I don't know. So smaller tubing, connect that, and then string that along the wall until you can like put it into the container. So as you can see, this is pretty close to the edge of the container, which is what I wanted. Now what I usually do is I feed the tubing through the drainage hole, and then it comes up through the soil, and that way you don't have to see any of the lines. But because I'm doing this with firescaping in mind, I wanted to be able to come through and really quick just cut the line and move the container. I didn't want to have to fish for the line in the plants. So I can probably come right through with some kind of scissors. I can use even household scissors and cut really quick and then move the whole container out of the way. Now I do want to say, usually I would use little elbows so that it's a clean like little turn on the edge of the raised bed, but I don't have that, so it's gonna look a little funky for a bit. Anyways, I cut it, put a coupler in, and what I'm gonna be doing is attaching it to a soaker hose. I don't know if I like soaker hoses yet. This is what it looks like here. Basically water, it just kind of seeps out of the entire hose. It's very porous. Now it tends to clog if you have hard water. I already have some clogging in different parts of my yard, but it is pretty convenient. You don't have to do a lot of different emitters. You just do the soaker hose and it covers a good amount of ground. So this part's a little bit painful to watch just because it's so frustrating. Basically what you want to do is you want to get the soaker hose and you want to evenly distribute it around the whole container. Best way to do it is to do it in like a swirl. So just swirl it all the way around the container until you hit the center of the container. And then all I had to do was cut the soaker hose, then add a little plug at the very end, and that's it, it's done. And it's really important to make sure your plants are watered, because a well-watered plant is harder to catch on fire. And there you go, that's all set up. And as you can see, I did the soaker hose in like a swirly position. And that's all I really have to say about that. As you can see, how close that line is to the edge. I can come right through with some scissors, even like kitchen scissors, and just snap that off and then move the entire container. Okay guys, I hope this video has helped you a little bit. Go ahead and check down below. I have those links so you guys can read up on firescaping, and that's all I have to say for today. Please like this video if you liked it, and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this, and I will see you next time. Bye!